Hello and welcome to the Redcar Rewind. Redcar 45, Poole 45. I put on the scoreboard 49.50, but it's actually 45 all, 5-4, isn't it?
Sounds right.
Yeah. Not all is lost though. Are we still undefeated at home this season in the league? I don't know how this works.
Technically, yeah. I mean, we've only had 2 matches and won one and drawn one, so yeah.
Still a draw. It's a draw, yeah. Yeah, because if it would have finished after Heat 15, we would have got a draw. Yeah, right, so the Agility Bears defeated in the Super Heat tonight by the rampant Poole Pirates. Poole, a thorn in our side, Jamie, over the last 2 years.
They're the top team in Britain, aren't they? I mean, they dominated the top league. They dropped down to this just because of race nights. It's no surprise that they're dominating this league as well. We were unlucky not to win it outright, really, but it shows their strength that they pulled it back at the end and got the draw.
Talk about a couple of talking points. We'll move on to the riders soon. Heat 15, so first of all, there was a bit of amazement in the crowd that King was excluded, but when I was speaking to BSNZ and Brannan, he reckoned Danny touched the tapes. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I didn't think there was any controversy there. It looked like Danny had done it, and Danny didn't argue about it. So yeah, I don't think. I think he was just a bit keen to get out. He knew he was on the best gate and didn't want to disappoint. So yeah, he never argued it.
Fair enough. And then moving on to the rerun, where I thought Jake Wolford was coming out in the 5-1 the first 2 bends. Looks like Poole are set for the match. Charles, what are you thinking? What are you thinking coming to bend 3 and 4 if you're Steve Worrell there?
Which lap?
4.
Lap 4. Charles did what he had to do. Steve was doing what he had to do. We had this same conversation last time Poole were here, didn't we, with Steve, unfortunately. There was no malice in it whatsoever. It just the track had slickened off that much that I think the way Charles had got to the inside meant he pulled a bit of a locker, and Steve unfortunately ran into him. Absolutely not intentional by Steve. It was just a racing incident again.
Is there any way you were a former rider? Is there any way Glasgow rider or
Only in your
going into that last lap? It's obvious Lawson's going to win the race. Is there any way you think as a rider, I'll just let that guy through for second because we're going to win the match?
That's the most ridiculous thing you've ever said.
But they would have won 46-44 then and we wouldn't have got a point. Do you see where I'm coming from there?
No.
So, right. So Lawson was going to win the race going into lap 4. Yeah. This is Heat 15, yes?
I understand.
Oh, you understand now, yeah. But, so then they would have got 2 points, we would have got 0. So do you understand where I'm coming from here with my statement?
Yes, I understand. But as a racer, it wasn't as if it was an outrageous move for something that he didn't have to do. If anything, it was more of an outrageous move by Charles to hang on to the point, which Charles did have to do. And again, unfortunately, Stevie was on the end of a racing incident. This time he got excluded, last time he didn't.
This time was much more important.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right, so we're going to go through the 1 to 7. We'll start off back-to-back man of the match, Jake Mulford. If I said that to you 4 weeks ago, what would you have said?
Obviously.
But in all seriousness, he's improving with every ride and his confidence is coming on every ride.
Yeah, he's learning the track. What was really good to see in Heat 2 tonight was he didn't quite get across in Heat 2 from the start. He didn't panic. He got in front of Royden fairly early on. And then he just took his time behind Newman. Sat on the inside while he weighed it up, and then he made a really good run round the outside of turns 1 and 2. But then instantly took back to the inside once he was past him to cover the line. It was really smart riding. The same with Heat 8, really smart. Again, him and Danyan got in front for a 5-1, and he team rode like a pro. He, if you could criticise Jake a little bit for last week, was it Heat 8 then as well? Yeah, I wouldn't say he was all over, but on the final bend, he sort of left Danyan out to dry a little bit, which nearly cost Daniel the point. It's not really his fault when you're that experienced, but he learnt from it 1 week to the next, and he just hung back a little bit for Daniel for all 4 laps to make sure that they were side by side, because the lads behind weren't slow.
And I heard Mr. Royton say in the pits, which I'm sure is true, it's the first time they've been 5-1 in Heat 2 all season. Whether that is the case, but if it is the case, some achievement, because I know they both rode for us last season. Adam ended up leaving the club. Kyle, we would have had back, yes? Yeah. So he's beat some really good riders there.
Yeah, I mean, he did last week as well. It's not like, I don't want to talk Poole's reserve pairing down. They're a good pairing, but a lot of the meetings I've had so far have been against, I think they've had 3 meetings against Plymouth at home, haven't they?
And 2 v Oxford, I think.
Yeah, so there's a lot of 2-point riders in them matches. So that's not trying to talk them down. They are a good pair of riders, but they haven't always had the strongest opposition yet. It might be different once we go down Poole in the league. We'll see, but our guys are doing really well at reserve now.
Right, we're just going to pause there. We were joined by Richard Lawson, and he discussed his unfortunate 17 points for the Pirates and their Super Heat win. 17. He says he's never done 7 rides since he was a Redcar Cub. So 17 points for the Law. He joined me, and then we'll be back with Mr. Swales for the concluding part of the rewind. Joined by this man. Wrong colour, 1 suit. You've let us down again. 17, was it?
I have absolutely no idea.
Plus the Super Heat.
Yeah, I hope Matt's paying for that.
And then, God, will there be a Ferrari for that?
I wish. Man, I haven't done 7 rides, I don't think, since I was a Redcar Cub in 2008. Feeling it now.
But on a whole, a fantastic speedway meeting, and obviously we're not happy because we lost. You guys are happy you won, but just looking at it from a neutral point of view, that's why this is such a great spot.
100%. And, hats off to both teams. It takes 2 to tango, doesn't it? And fantastic track again. And, like I was just going to say, as a neutral, fantastic. Can't ask for much more.
And that, conceivably, I know other teams will have a lot to say about that. That could be the playoff final come October, November time.
Yeah, absolutely. You guys ride our track well, as you showed earlier on in the season. So, 2 brilliant teams, I think, and it's gonna be pretty exciting towards the end of the year, I think.
But as I've said, teams change. Not necessarily these teams, but form changes can be completely different come that time of the year. Injuries happen, as you're well aware. It's as Rick said to me last week. It's on the day, but it's more leading up to the meeting, in my opinion, and it just anything can happen. Like the Cooks didn't do as well as they can tonight, so and then again, Jason didn't do as well as he can for us. So anything can happen in this spot.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you said, forms. When you're on form, it feels easy. But come the end of the season, I think obviously Eric will have more meetings under his belt, so he'll be a bit sharper. So little things like that can push the meeting either way. So like I said, 2 brilliant teams, and I think it's going to be playoff material for sure.
Obviously, I've spoke about this on here before, but playoffs, you're in a 9-team league, 6 teams, and you would assume from tonight's meeting both teams would be in the playoffs. Would you go along with that?
Yeah, for sure.
So, is it more, would you say it's better to have 4 teams in the playoff and have a 4-team for a 9-team league?
Yeah, in theory, you would probably think that.
It's trying to extend people's seasons, isn't it?
It is that, yeah. That's above my pay grade to decide all that. I'll just get on it and ride it, see what it is. But I guess if you're a 5th place team, you could disagree. But we just abide by the rules and let's see what happens. Hopefully, the top team should win anyway, regardless.
Obviously, you have guested for us a number of times home and away this season, and you did have a spell at Redcar before, but completely different promotion since then. I know obviously you're a Poole man, but you like it down here, don't you? Yeah,
I love it. Yeah, I can't speak highly enough of the club. It's from the promotion, the fans, the track. It's a real nice place to come. Always make you feel comfortable. You even get a salad box. I mean, what tracks do that?
The interviewer. What about him?
Needs a bit of work, but he's getting there.
So Poole go back with 2 points, Redcar get 1. So it's not all lost for the Bears, but the Poole bandwagon marches on, still undefeated in the league. That's some effort so far, because it is a very competitive league.
It is, yeah. Yeah, really competitive. So, like I said, we're kind of getting through these meetings. Sometimes I had a nightmare the other day at Plymouth, but the rest of the guys stepped up and got it through. And like you said, a couple of riders struggled tonight on our side, and then other riders stepped up. So we seem to just have enough in the bag. So yeah, let's keep it going.
Thank you very much for your time.
No worries, thank you.
Joining me back again is Mr. Swales. So we're going to go through the 1 to 7 now. We've done Jake Mulford, who rode fantastically for back-to-back man of the matches, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 plus 2, which is nearly quadruple his average. So moving up to Connor Bailey. People may say Connor Bailey didn't ride as well as he can tonight, but he outscored his average and scored 5 points. So another decent night for the Tornado.
Yeah, not disappointed in what Connor did tonight at all. The couple of last places in there was there, I think. He was on their backsides in them races. It wasn't like he got left when he was there. There was a couple of gates weren't very good, and them races were off them gates. So there's no reason for him to be disappointed with his match tonight.
Yeah, he's outscored his average, so fair play. Moving on up the order now to Eric Race. Eric, unfortunately, only scored 5 tonight. Obviously not at 100%, as we all know. Getting back. Not the Eric we know, but it wasn't far behind. He was always in there. It's just he couldn't get the right drive. Would you go along with that?
Race rusty, I would say. With no disrespect to Berwick, it was a much easier meeting for him to come back last week, and that's exactly why we wanted him to come back last week, to try and get that extra bit of race edge back for tonight. It's unfortunate that his guest booking got rained off on Monday, I think it was. That would have helped him out a little bit. But he's essentially playing catch-up on setups now, so he was unfortunate to get past in his second ride. I thought he was clear, then he maybe played a little bit defensive when he thought he was already clear, but again, that is down to race rustiness, and a couple more weeks and we'll have the Eric that we know and love.
Well, I think as this goes out, Eric will be riding again for the Berwick Bandits in a guest appearance, and that will help as well. We're going to go into a part of the season. We're in a part of the season, I should say, where it's better to come back now than it is September time.
Oh yeah, you don't want to be coming back near the tail end. I mean, we've got some good matches for him coming up now. So we've got Plymouth next week, and we're running the Julie Lewis Memorial the week after. They're 2 good meetings for him to, get back in the groove before we go into the Scunthorpe. Scunthorpe 3 matches, is it, straight after that? I can't remember.
You're the promoter.
Or was the Glasgow away as well? So there's some tough matches after them. But we've got a couple of decent ones for him to get back in the groove now.
Just on that, Julie Lewis, are we going to run the same format as ran for the last few years?
Yes, seems very popular. We'll go with that.
Thank you. Right, moving on. Jason Edwards, a tough night for the Billericay Blaster. Jason scored 1 plus 1. Your thoughts?
Yeah, it just wasn't his night. The track wasn't to his suiting. He was unfortunate in a couple of rides. Again, didn't think he was off the pace. We just have to remember that it was the best team in the league again, so his head wasn't down at the end. He knows what he has to do. He'll come back. We all know Jason. He does dip in and out of form, but every time he dips down in form, it's not as bad as the time before. So he's learning. He's coming on. He'll get there.
I think he knows and we know he's at the right club where you don't sign someone like Jason Edwards on a 2-year deal and then get rid of him. He's somewhere where he can learn, develop, and by the end of the 2 years, he could be a Danny King. He could be on the verge of becoming a heat leader.
Yeah, certainly. He's not far away from pushing onto that now. That's why we've got him. We know what his potential is, and we don't put pressure on the riders for things like that, because the riders that we've got want to improve themselves, and it's coming all the time with Jason.
Moving on, Charles Wright. Gavin elected to move him to number 3 tonight. Not that he informed anybody, but Charles scored 9-13 plus 1. Charles Wright, fantastic performance. Is he okay after his little fall there in 15?
Yeah, he's talking away all right there. I think just banged his arm a little bit. I mean, he went out and won the super heat, didn't he? So he must be feeling all right. Yeah, it's just a proper Charles performance, that one. Unlucky to not get a max, really, I would have said. He rode outstanding right throughout.
Moving on, Daniel Hume. Another good night for Mr. Hume. He scores 7+1. He has outscored his average, and that might be one of the only times he has outscored his average from his programme rides. He is another one who's coming on, and the move to number 2 has definitely benefited him. Yeah,
we worked out early on that he was doing better in the early heats rather than the later heats. He's someone that likes a bit more dirt on the track, so obviously as the dirt moves around at the end of the match, it doesn't suit him as much. So 2 is definitely better for him. He tries a different bike tonight. It's his third bike, I believe, that he's never tried around here before. So
paying him too much.
Must be Ipswich. So by his last couple of rides, I think he'd found the setup that suited that bike. And yeah, he was really happy with his night's work.
Moving on to our number 1, Mr. Danny King. Danny scored 6, including a tips exclusion heat 15. Not the Danny we know, but it was an up and down night, I think, for Mr. King.
Yeah, a lot of sympathy for Danny tonight, because the 2 races he won, he was flying. Heat 1, was he off gate 4, I think, which is the best gate, but that early in the match it was still like a swamp. So heat 1 he got absolutely filled in at the back, so I had a bit of sympathy for him there. And yeah, tape exclusion. I'm actually amazed he only got 6. I thought he rode far better than 6 points. So yeah, he's quite downhearted tonight. We need to make sure that we've got our arm around Danny and know that we believe in him. We know what he can do, and once we get to the business end of the season, I'm sure he'll be doing what he needs to do.
2 points there. You'd be over the moon with 6, wouldn't you?
Me personally, that's more than I scored in my career.
And should I go and put my arm around him and give him a say, how are you, Danny?
The injunction stops you.
The super injunction. Right. So thanks all for joining us for the Redcar Rewind. We have not got beat. Don't believe what you read. 45 all draw. Bears take a point. We roll on to the Plymouth Gladiators at home. We'd like to see you here. Create a raucous atmosphere, because the atmosphere is getting better every week, isn't it?
Yeah, it was outstanding. I think when Poole come before, I said in my programme notes, it was really stale and flat, the atmosphere. There was like an anticipation of how hard they were. Fair play to the crowd. You all did excellent tonight. There was an awesome atmosphere right from the start.
Thank you very much, and we'll see you all next week. Thank you.